Mahima, over to you.
Okay. Good evening and welcome. I'm Mahima Kapoor, a researcher at IMPRI, Prabhav Evam Niti Sansthan, Nai Delhi, and I extend my warm welcome to you all for this IMPRI #Policy Talk. Today, we are here for a special talk by Professor Chetan Vaidya on demystifying urban ranking indexes in India as part of the series The State of Cities #City Conversations, organized by the Center for Habitat, Urban and Regional Studies at IMPRI. I'd now like to invite our moderator for today, Dr. Soumyadeep Chattopadhyay, Associate Professor at Visva Bharati Santi Niketan and Senior Visiting Fellow at IMPRI, to take the proceedings forward. Thank you.
Soumyadeep sir, mute.
Well, thank you, Mahima, and good evening to all of you. Uh, uh, just to say a few words about this city conversation series, we all know that India is urbanizing rapidly, and such rapid urbanization brings with it the challenges of ensuring the quality of life and inclusive growth. But poorly planned urbanization has led to the mushrooming of slums, lack of basic amenities such as power, water, sanitation, and also there are the problems of pollution and congestions, which have made the cities all the more unlivable. So a visionary urban policy is the need of the hour, as the existing policies seem to impede the critical development in our cities. And the city conversation series organized by IMPRI engages with these sorts of critical thinking. And this COVID-19 pandemic, as we all know, has further exposed the deficiencies in our urban planning and underscored the need for rethinking. And it is essential to achieve a holistic development of urban areas to provide satisfactory quality of life to the residents, and some sort of quantification of the overall development considering the social, economic, and environmental aspects of Indian cities is considered to be very useful for that purpose. And along with the service level benchmarks, the government of India of late has introduced a number of urban indices such as ease of living, municipal performance, and so on. And in today's lecture, our guest speaker, Professor Chetan Vaidya, plans to discuss the pros and cons of such indices and their appropriateness in assessing and analyzing the performance of Indian cities. The topic of today's lecture is demystifying urban ranking indexes in India. And we are really privileged to have an eminent set of panelists. Now, all of them are very well-known urban experts, so they do not need any introduction as such, but still it is customary to introduce some of them, the speaker. So Professor Chetan Vaidya is an independent urban advisor with over 30 long years of academic research and consultancy experience of urban planning and development. And he was the director of the School of Planning and Architecture, New Delhi, SPA New Delhi, during 2012 and 17, and also the director of NIUA, National Institute of Urban Affairs, during 2008 to 12. And from 2019 to till recently, he was the senior national urban advisor to the Kochi Smart City, supported by the ZIZ, German International Cooperation. And also for chairing today's session, we are fortunate to have with us Professor Hitesh Vaidya, who is the director of the National Institute of Urban Affairs, New Delhi. And as other panelists, we have with us Professor Meera Mehta, Emeritus Professor and Executive Director of Center for Water Supply and Sanitation, CEPT University, Ahmedabad. Professor Dinesh Mehta, who is the Emeritus Professor of Executive Director at the Center for Water Supply and Sanitation, CEPT University, Ahmedabad, and also Dr. Pritika Hingorani, who is the Director and Research Fellow of IDFC Institute, Mumbai. So may I now request with this short introduction, now Professor Hitesh Vaidya to initiate the discussion and to say a few words about today's lecture. It's over to you, Professor Vaidya.
Good evening, everyone. And thank you, IMPRI, for inviting me for this city conversations. I think it's a great privilege for me to be here. But more than this is an irony. You know, we have my gurus, my teachers, my colleagues, all there, and I'm sitting here. It's a real irony. I don't even deserve it. It's like you are sitting in a chair where your gurus are saying that's not a place I would love to be. Whatever I am saying today is all, for them, and they have, wherever I am, it's because of them today. So I feel very, very humbled by this gesture, but, I'll try to, because I'm sitting in a chair, even though I don't deserve it, I'll try my best to chair this session or whatever possible. But I think, Dr. Soumya, it's your duty to moderate, because I don't think it's the right thing to do. But when I saw it, I felt proud for myself. But anyway, that's the only thing that I think that my teachers will feel proud of their own student, and that's what I feel that give me a more pleasure to be here. But coming back to the topic, I think we all are talking about urban transformation. We all are talking out. You talked about post-COVID, and after post-COVID, we are talking about move away from business as usual approach. We are talking about for quite some time on evidence-based policy discourse. And I think this idea of, and the topic of today's demystifying urban rankings is like the idea of this whole performance-based competition approach, which we have been using now recently for some time, is a tool to trigger the transformation. And I think that's where it's really, how do you, the idea is we all want safe, inclusive, and resilient and sustainable cities, but how does this approach really trigger that goal which we all want to move towards? And as you said, we have been dealing with for last 4 or 5 years with different indices, because the whole thing, which idea is what gets measured gets done. And we are talking about, we have recently have ease of living, we have municipal performance index, we have data maturity assessment framework, we have Swachh Sarvekshan, we have a climate assessment framework. So there are a number of indices which we are rolling out, and now we are also talking about new climate air quality indices and others. My only, and I think Dr. Chetan Vaidya will talk about it, is it's the capacities of the urban local body to really respond to these indices. Is it a top-down approach, or is it that coming out of that evidence which we want to do it? And how do you integrate all of these indices to make a life better for a local policy leader or a policy? That should be the thing, that he doesn't look at these rankings as just another award ceremonies, but how does he integrate all of them to really make a decision which is good for the cities? And I think that is the broad objective of this these indices should be. I think this ranking should really surely ignite urban discourse, but this urban discourse should be how this really look at and change in the built environment, changes in the institutional structures, changing in the financial improvement of urban local bodies. How does it really initiate the partnerships and engagements with citizens and other private players? And also, how does it change the perception of a citizen towards a city? I think these are the questions which everybody has been thinking about it. It's not just that another ranking result had come and we look at awards and we forget it. But how does this data which is collected, how does this ranking which we have reached really lead to the actions on the ground? And I think that is the challenge which we are thinking, what next? How do you apply these rankings to take those action-oriented approach at a city level? And so with this initiative, and I don't, as I said, I don't want to talk about it, but I would love 3 questions with Chetan sir and the panel discuss, such a luminaries or a stalwart sitting on the panel to talk about how does city really apply these results for action planning? What is that is missing? What is the gap that we are not able to do that? Because you talk about poor urbanization or messy urbanization, but what is that? They trigger that sustainable urban momentum towards that. And last is like, what are those effective instruments we need to create to really trigger this local agenda or action agenda at the local level, which we need to work out. So if we can really look at those areas. So I just want to end up with saying that we just, as an NIUA, came up with a climate assessment framework. We released it on 25th of June. We are right now celebrating our 45th anniversary, and we want to be a fit for purpose organization. And the asks which state and cities after this climate assessment framework was released is, okay, I'm rank 1, I'm 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, 4 star, or a 5 star, whatever it may be. Tell me, how do I move into the ladder from 1 star to 2 star? What are those 3 things that I move into a ladder that today I am 1 star, tomorrow I become a 2 star or 3 star? And that is the direction you have to give me. And how do I really show to my state, the citizens or my constituency, where do I go from here? Come up with those action points to us. Just don't give us that I am a 1 star thing and I am a 2 stars, but give us a roadmap to move further. And I think that's the challenge which all of us had, because how deep we want to dive into it, how as a national institute, how we handhold the cities to really move forward to that. So I would be happy to have those type of thoughts which can come up from the discussants and the Chetan sir to that. So with that, I invite Professor Chetan Vaidya to really enlighten us on some of those things and actually demystify. I was actually, before I came here, I was looking at, now, what does demystify really means? And I did a Google, and I said Google says that how one make difficult subject more clearer and easier to understand. And I think this is a clearer India, not to the people who already know, but the clearer and understand the citizens who actually want to know what is this ranking for my cities is. So please, Dr. Professor Chetan Vaidya, over to you. Thank you very much for inviting me again for this.
Thank you, Hitesh. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
I can hear you, sir.
Thank you, Hitesh, for such a wonderful background of this presentation. And I first want to thank IMPRI, particularly Arjun Kumar, for giving me an opportunity, and also the opportunity to be with the panelists like Dinesh Mehta, Meera Mehta, and Pratika. And of course, Hitesh, whom I know for so long time. It's a great panel. And also I thank Soumyadeep to moderate this. It's not going to be easy for you to moderate this session. Hitesh, we are really very proud of you. First is for that 10 minutes presentation which you gave us, but even otherwise, we're very proud. And we're very happy to see you in our chairs at NIUA and at different levels. I think that's great. And as far as my interest in these diseases is concerned, I think I was involved with ease of doing business when I was in NIUA. I was involved in the early stages of serviceless benchmark. Mr. A.K. Mehta, Joint Secretary, was working on it. And a little bit on leaving this ease was working on credit rating. All of us have been with USAID 5. We have been involved a little bit here and there. So this was an interest for me for a long time, for last 7 or 8, maybe almost 10 years. But last 2 years during this pandemic and little before that, when I was stuck and I was staying in Kochi and Baroda out of Delhi, because Delhi is all said and done is not urban India. Urban India is in smaller places. And when I was in Kochi and in Baroda in last 2.5 years, I started reading this editorial and of the editions of local newspaper, both the local language and also in English, but local news. And one realized that these urban indexes, which get published somewhere on the website of MOUD or NIU and other places, is often referred in the newspaper quite often. And both opposition and the ruling parties use them to justify their own presence and their own work. And as in Kochi, when they became from 5th to 45th as far as Clean India ranking is concerned, the mayor was criticized a lot, even by their own party. I mean, it's not that these are taken very easily. And this is the time when I started trying to look at very closely what these indexes are. And it was almost very difficult. There were opaque ways of looking. One has to do a lot of research and study to understand what these all indexes, this is decide. And that is where I got interested. And then I thought I should discuss it more. The term demystifying was used by Professor Meera Mehta in one of the presentation, which I have just copied from her presentation. I don't remember exactly which was this presentation, but she referred to this term. You rightly said what it means, this. Could we go to the next one, Arjun? Next slide. Now, what we are talking is, what is this urban ranking index is there? Then we will take up 5 urban indexes, which we will deal with in detail. But there are at least 4 to 6 other indexes, and which we will not be discussing it. We'll just mention to them, but they are at different stages of development. Some are very recent. And we are not discussing, there are also many non-governmental indexes, which we will not discuss, but I'll just mention to them. But what are the benefits of these indexes which has happened? And then we will talk about what are the issues or limitations of these indices. And then finally, way forward. In the way forward, I would try to cover what Hitesh has raised, those 3 issues or 3 questions. How does city apply them? What is missing? And what is effective instruments of improving this indexing and the steps cities could take? So partly I'll respond to what Hitesh has read, but there are other people in the panel who would add to whatever I'm saying. Next thing. Now we are discussing these 5 indexes. One is ease of doing business. Within that, focusing on online building permission system. Second is ease of living index. Third is municipal performance index, Swachh Sarvekshan, Clean India survey, and service levels benchmark. Actual discussion is not in the same order. The order has been changed. So, and then next one, please. Then we will not discuss municipal credit rating index, because I thought it was done about 5 years ago for 400 cities, but then for some reason it has been not done after that, 4 or 5 years ago, and it has not been done, and I will not include that. We'll also not talk about smart city index, because it is basically construction implementation oriented index. It is not on overall improvement of living conditions or improving situation in a city. And it's more on how many contracts have been tendered, how many contracts have been awarded, what have been completed. So it's more on use of funds rather than on use of improvement of living conditions, though both are linked at the end of the story. The projects are properly completed. It's too early to look at climate smart city assessment. I think only one of them. And it's too early to look at data maturities. So for reasons of time and for other reasons, I decided not to include this into discussion. Not that they are not important, but we are also not discussing any awards given for smart city, PMY or AMRUT. I think that is not being discussed here because it will confuse the issues. We are not also including indexes by private organizations like Janagra, by Priya and other organizations. We are working on various aspects, and I keep getting this emails and WhatsApp messages about this city is good, this city is not good, but we are not looking at in this particular. Not that they are not important. Yes. Now we start with ease of doing business. As all of you know, World Bank has started this doing business report. And the idea was how it is easy or difficult it is to start a business in a particular country. Since 2014, this index has been taken very seriously by our government of India, which is very positive. Now it's also not only at the country, but each state can put up information in Niti Aayog portal and revise their, I mean, it's almost like you can change it on a 24-hour basis. That is the kind of portal that has been introduced by the Niti Aayog. But very important indicator within this ease of doing business is time required for construction permit. It is an important part of this index. And this is where our ministry got very keenly interested. In 2009 and 2010, when I was with National Institute of Urban Affairs, we did a very detailed study, I think, Dr. Debelina Kundu was involved with this work. She piloted this work. We studied 10 cities at that time, and we made number of recommendations based on different things. One was an online building permission system, which was already in vogue as part of JNRM reform, both in Pune and Ahmedabad and some other cities. We recommended that we also talked about architect and record, where the architect would sign in the beginning. Many suggestions were made how information and land use planning on ownership could be provided in advance to the municipal corporation, or it could be sort of certified by the owner himself or herself. So we made a lot of suggestions. This one particular suggestion was taken, and cities and states were encouraged to provide online building permission system. Now, at present, you'll be surprised to know 2,000 urban centers in India, including 444 Amrut Mission cities, have introduced this OBPS, Online Building Permission System. TCPO, Town and Country Planning Organization of Ministry, has provided technical assistance training to a large number of cities and states to introduce this system. It required a lot of efforts from part of that. Now, India's ranking in construction permission has improved from 181 in 2018 to 27 in 2020. This is the ministry, and particularly the Secretary of Urban Development takes great pride. He takes a lot of pride in this achievement, and I think we should all be very happy about it. And it's not that it's and NIO has been appointed as a third-party auditor for this system, and they certify. I think that is very positive, and they certify that this is really happening. This index has led to simplification of procedures, difficult to get permissions from the system. There's a whole other side of the economy which works for this. But fortunately, this has simplified the procedure, and it has certified improvement. It has led to improvement of delivery of services. And it's not only that NIO certifies, and I know some municipal corporations, this is an ad I have got from 3 municipal corporations of Delhi who put up a challenge that you can do it, you can get it from 45 to 60 days, not only approval of the building plan, also of the inspection, and also joint inspection of water supply department and fire department and MCD. I think it's a major achievement, and they are putting a challenge in the newspaper, which is very positive approach. Something we could not imagine even 5 years ago. Now, the next is service level. I think it's a very important index for the sanitation sector, for the water supply and sanitation sector and other services. IIT Madras carried out a study on ranking on water utilization in India in 2007, funded by ADB. That was the starting point of benchmarking of utilities in the country, if I remember correctly. So it tells what is good, what is bad about the delivery of services. And this was somewhere a handbook of service level benchmarks for water supply, sanitation, drainage, solid waste, and perhaps transport, and was also prepared by MOUD in 2009, or maybe it was the transport one was issued later on. But there was a handbook for service level benchmark on these 4 services issued by Ministry of Urban Development. And fortunately for us, for the urban sector, all 3 made estimation and publication of service level benchmarks a condition for performance grant. And this became a very important incentive for states and cities to look at this benchmark very seriously. Once again, Amrut Mission had one of the conditions that cities and states will prepare service level improvement plan using SLPs. Both these supports under CFCs and Amrut Mission help cities to both improve services, and also to cities and states have tried to evolve the system over time. Now, when the ministry was working on it, CEPT University, particularly Dinesh Mehta and Meera Mehta. Both of us are with us today under their Center for Water and Sanitation. They developed and implemented a service level benchmarking system. They developed and implemented. It was not just developing some numbers and some procedures, but they actually implement almost in 400 cities in Maharashtra and Gujarat under the project funded by Gates Foundation. And CWAS also developed this online system, methods, and this process of performance assessment and improvement of urban water supply and sanitation. I think this was the next step. They took it to the next step. They developed the system. And now this system is being used by 1,000 plus cities in 5 states. Maybe my information is about 1 year old. So maybe there are more cities and states now being covered. NIA also is supporting, is part of the system. And parallelly, CWS worked with 2 cities in Maharashtra, Vai and Sinnar, where they worked as model cities for urban sanitation, how the public-private partnership could be done, and they encourage private people to provide a GPS-led cleaning of systems in these cities. And this is excellent progress which we have made. So what does it show? That cleaning of septic tanks, I'm sorry, I'm getting that. And what does it mean that the simple measurement tool which was introduced in 2007 or 2009 led to innovations and improved surveillance systems in 2 cities and many other cities in Maharashtra. And I'm sure this is now being replicated in other cities because there are a lot of people who are talking about it, and there are exchange programs, knowledge exchange programs going on by CEPT University on this. But all that took 10 years of dedicated efforts. I call it technical assistance, research, advocacy, and training. But actually, Meera and Dinesh are fountainhead of this information and research. Operationalize the research is not just writing papers. Advocacy and training, both to the ministry, to NIUA, to state governments, urban local bodies, communities, and private sector. All that led to this kind of change. So what Hitesh was asking is third point. It's not just giving a result, but what you also need is a constant, dedicated efforts over a long period. This doesn't happen overnight. It will not happen in 1 or 2 years. But when it will happen, there'll be 2 cities in the first 2 years, but then there'll be 100 and 1,000 in the next 5 to 10 years. This is something we have to learn and we have to replicate over time. This transfer of knowledge and practice takes a lot of time and a lot of efforts. Now, the next thing we are discussing is ease of living index. It evaluates quality of life and impact of various initiatives of urban development. It broadly looks at 3 existing conditions: quality of life, economic ability, and sustainability. And there are various categories of information on education, health, housing, economic opportunities, environment, buildings, energy consumption, city, all that 13 categories it collects information on. There is also a citizen perception survey to validate the experience of service delivery. The index in 2020, it gave 30% marks to the citizen survey and 70% marks to existing living condition. And this was carried out between January and March. And almost 32 lakh citizens were surveyed in 111 cities as part of this. It's extremely extensive and effective tool, I can say that. Now, the results for Bangalore, Pune, and Ahmedabad were the best in million-plus cities. Shimla was ranked first in the less than 1 million cities. Both Bangalore and Pune, they got about 66 or 77% of total marks. And shows that there is considerable scope for improvement. Actually, in the social media, both in Bangalore and Pune, people were having number of jokes about the quality of life in these 2 cities. If these are the 2 best cities, they used to say, if these are the 2 best cities, we don't want to imagine what happens to the rest of India as far as quality of living is concerned. And that means even these 2 cities need a lot of improvement. And this is this shows what one could do. But it did lead to healthy competition. It also showed what is the future course of action these cities should take, something which was raised earlier by the chairman. And I must say that CPS was carried out in the first wave, before the first wave of COVID-19. It was somewhere ended in March 2020. And as we all know, the lockdown was introduced on 28th March or something, 6th March. So it was before the impact of COVID-19 or management of COVID. As far as global city ranking is concerned, between the 2020 or 2019 and 2021, the impact of management of COVID has a lot of effect on urban ranking. Actually, now New Zealand city is considered as the best living city, Auckland, and not the 2 or 3 cities like Melbourne, which were one among the 2 or 3 previously. So in future, whenever this survey will be carried out, I think management of COVID-19 would be a great impact on this index. Along with the ease of living, the ministry also carried out municipal performance index. It was for the first time in 2020 they declared the results. It talks about functions of the municipal corporation, and it is expected that citizens will understand what the local administration is doing. It will bring transparency. It will try to generate trust, because local bodies are not always trusted. It talks about 20 sectors: education, health, wastewater, SWM, sanitation, financial management, digital governance, plan preparation and implementation, human resource, and participation. The first city to get this award in this particular category was India, which was followed by Surat. And as we all know, that these 2 cities have always been doing well. And top city in less than 1 million was New Delhi. The focus of MPI is on inputs, whereas focus of EOI, ease of living, is on output. That is how they bring out these 2 different. But they are both were published together. Now, Swachh Bharat is another very important index. I think it is offered, it is heard in newspapers and discussions and in all kinds of references. People have got involved with Swachh Bharat survey very closely. And it does bring out service level performance, citizens' voice, and certification. There are 3 parts of it. It's a very detailed exercise. It's done 3 times in a year. And there are all kinds of newspaper ads, the panels, discussions. It's being promoted as an important index by the municipal local bodies, by the corporators, and also by cities. It has brought in a lot of healthy competition. Now the focus is on garbage-free and open defecation-free cities. The survey started in 2016 with 73 cities, and last survey covered more than 4,000 cities. It is claimed to be the largest survey, cleanliness survey in the world. And in Indore, which has got this first award for last 4 to 5 years, every citizen takes pride that their city is the cleanest city in the country for last 4 years, and they want to get it this year also. And I think that shows the commitment. Auto rickshaw wala, bus wala, peon, to the mayor, all take very important pride in being the cleanest in the country. There's large-scale participations of citizens. This has led to a large-scale participation of citizens. It has brought awareness building, creditable outcomes, improved services, and promoted healthy competition among cities. I think this is very important achievement of Swachh Sarvekshan. Now, what is the benefits of these URIs? It has brought in healthy competition among cities. I think that is very positive. It has provided verified data on status of urban infrastructure and governments and impact on various urban initiatives. It's not something which some Babu writes, the information is given and then it is verified. So information is verified at least by an independent source. It has also led to improvement of services and innovation in case of some cities. I won't say it's all cities, but in some cities, it has led to improvement of service delivery and it has led to innovations. And it has provided information for citizen participation and also to identify areas of action, areas of improvement. There are issues. So this was mentioned earlier also. There are too many urban indexes in the country. It's too many of them. I think that is something which we need to look at. It's sometimes very confusing, even for somebody like me. It was very confusing to understand and there are overlaps among these different indices. But unfortunately, everybody is working in isolation. That integrated way of looking what this all are giving information is giving in, what step the mayor or the commissioner should take, what is the kind of support which is required of the state group is still not clearly coming. And I felt that economic and inclusive aspects are not sufficiently covered in most of these indexes. So if we say sustainable and inclusive urban development as objectives of our cities, then inclusive part is not sufficiently delivered. And this is something we need to look at. And also there is not adequate technical assistance in training for the local bodies and state government for implementing URIs. I also felt that the link between URIs and SDG 1, 6, and 11 is also not clearly brought out. I mean, it is not something which this data could be used by Niti Aayog to give their assessment of what is happening in these 3 SDGs, particularly 6 and 9. I did not find that they are not using these indexes for measuring implementation of SDGs. Now, what is the way forward? I think somebody has to look at all the URIs into a very integrated manner and reduce these overlaps. I mean, this cannot be left to the mayor and the commissioner. Neither he has the time nor the inclination to look at this. So what they do is they take 1 or 2 of indices which helps them to promote themselves, and they try to focus on that manner and avoid or reduce this overlaps. We might need to simplify further. We also bring out very clearly the linkages between SDG and 1, 6, and 11 and the URIs, and provide data, verified data for measuring these SDG goals. We need to focus on economic and inclusive aspects of URI. So on one hand, you have to reduce the overlaps. On the other hand, you have to bring in some more data indicators on economy and inclusiveness. State governments and the ministry has to provide technical assistance to implement URIs. And finally, which is not easy, some of these indexes have to work at zonal, ward, and neighborhood level, have to be estimated at zone, ward, and neighborhood level to bring in more and more citizen participation. I think just giving a number at cities doesn't make sense for many of the citizen groups. So it will be useful if you can do at least some of them at the zone, ward, and neighborhood, simplified indexes. Thank you so much. I look forward for panel discussion henceforth.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Vaidya, for your excellent, I should say, presentation. Like you have mentioned so many URIs, and you, in fact, detail out all the components of, more or less, the components of all the URIs, ease of living index, the municipal performance index. And then you have mentioned that how the Indian cities are performing in terms of operationalization of these indices, and you rightly point out the important and the emphasis on the knowledge transfer and the knowledge transfer and knowledge building, which may be time consuming but can be very effective for shaping the urban development plan and policies. And also you mentioned about the differences in the people perception and the ranking obtained by those cities. And in that sense, the such survection may be considered as an improvement over the other URIs, as it brings out the importance of people's participation and awareness. And also, you pointed out to the difficulties related to the multiplicities and overlapping among these indices. So a lack of integration, as you pointed out, is missing. And so the inclusiveness aspects are not sufficiently addressed. And then you rightly pointed out the importance of linking the URIs with all the SDGs and also the provision of the technical assistances so that municipalities can operationalize or utilize those informations which are obtained after getting the rank to improve their quality of living, to improve their service delivery performances. And also, it's very important that these URIs may be built at the ward or zone level in order to facilitate more decentralization kind of planning and approaches, which may be useful for making, or rather, as you have given the title of today's presentation, the demystifying the urban ranking indices. So I have certain queries, so I'll be placing them after the discussions point of views. So with this, may I now request Professor Meera Mehta, who is the Emeritus Professor and Executive Director of the Center for Water Supply and Sanitation at SET University, to please share her views. It's over to you, Professor Mehta.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Chattopadhyay. And thanks, Chetan, for an amazing overview of all these different indices. I'm going to take a slightly narrow view and focus on one of them, which is actually not a ranking, but an information system, which is a service level benchmark initiative. And that's the one that we have actually worked on for the last 10 years. So that's the one that I will highlight in terms of the kind of efforts that have gone into it and kind of uses that it can be put to. And some of the issues that you raised in terms of how can local governments make use of that? How do you build capacity of local governments? So I'll try and address some of that. Just to little historical, as some of you know, at least Dinesh and I were in Africa for some time. And we came back to India when we left India, actually urban agenda was not really a big agenda in India. And you know, all our urban friends here, we used to push for urban, but nobody actually listened. Nobody put any investments. The government didn't really have any major programs. And when we came back in about 2007, 2008, suddenly urban had become a major agenda of the government. As all of you know, JNNURM actually put urban on the map in India. And then we started looking at it. When we started talking to people, we realized, or we felt at least, that there was a lot of focus under the programs in terms of building new infrastructure. So large water treatment plants and sewage treatment plant, sewerage network, water supply network, and so on. And all this was happening. There were some reforms being talked of, but nobody was really looking at whether these infrastructure investments were being converted to actual services for people on the ground. And that's something that we had worked on a little bit in Africa and looking at benchmarking initiatives. So we were exploring how do we apply something like this in the Indian context. And Gates Foundation liked that idea. They supported us. We actually also decided, as Chetan said rightly, there was some initiative on looking at such benchmarking in India, but in a very limited way. There was one ADB study and one other study, but which had looked at some 20 cities once and then nothing else. So we said, let's look at this thing at scale, not a few cities here and there, but you cover the entire state, all the cities in the state, and therefore you start relating it back to the kind of programs that government does. kind of monitoring systems that are needed to be put in place. And let's say role of State Finance Commission can be enhanced and so on. So that's what we did. We were fortunate that Gates Foundation put the trust in us and gave us a large grant. But we actually worked with Gujarat and Maharashtra government and covered not a few cities here and there, but all the cities in each state. And that was quite a big jump that was there compared to the earlier efforts. And we essentially worked with the government to evolve the kind of approach that needs to be taken. Luckily for us, Government of India at the same time started to take interest in looking at such benchmarking. And the service level benchmarking initiative was initiated at Government of India level. So we worked with the Government of India and we aligned the kind of system that we were planning with the service level benchmark initiative of the Government of India. So in a way, we are working at city level, state level, national level. So working at all levels of government was very, very critical. We also did a second major thing. Initially, we had partners in Gujarat and Maharashtra, and we did actual visits to cities to collect this data. And we realized that this is not a doable thing, but we learned a lot. We learned in terms of kind of systems that are there at local level in terms of information, data, gathering, analysis, and so on. But then we got into a academic business partnership with TCS, Tata Consult, to put all of this in an electronic platform, a digital platform. And we helped design this, but TCS has now, and TCS started in 2009, I think, and they are still with us, supporting us. So it's a very good example of an academia industry partnership also. With this, it became possible for local governments and state governments to not only collect this information, but monitor this on a regular basis. Somebody, I think, Hitesh or Chetan, one of them, or maybe both of them, mentioned about building capacity at local level. And this is very critical. And the system that we have actually is such that, in fact, at the local government level, now they can enter the data, and this is collected annually. In 2 to 3 days' time, they are able to enter the information for all services, water supply, sanitation, both sewerage as well as on-site sanitation system, solid waste management, and stormwater drainage. All of this information is gathered. So this is a system that we have developed. It's in public domain very importantly, and therefore is being used by a large number of agencies. The governments themselves, of course, very importantly, but also researchers, students. Since we sit in an academic institution, this is very important for us, but not only our students, this is being used by students all over, and we keep getting a request to use this information. So that's very comforting. The CAG has used this information in both Gujarat and Maharashtra. So there is that kind of use. And governments themselves, financing institutions like ADB, when they come on their missions to states, they actually look at this because this is the only information that is available in a coordinated and collated manner like this. So that's the advantage of this system. We've actually avoided ranking. We did a lot of work, meaning our team actually developed a lot of different approaches to ranking. But we realized that once we start getting into ranking, the governments will want to fudge their data and this, that. So we've actually kept away from that. And I think the benefit of this system is that it can be used for monitoring actual delivery of services on the ground. And this, to our mind, is very, very critical. And now we have a time series data for 9-10 years for Gujarat, Maharashtra, and the other states that Chetan mentioned for 5 years or so. We've now also done through a MOU with MoHUA for all 100 smart cities. So that's a step one this year we have done for all of them. So it's something that we hope will continue to grow over the coming years. We've also addressed the other issue that Chetan referred to in terms of equity. The SLB the system that was developed by Government of India actually didn't have anything on equity. We actually added that by adding a whole layer of looking at the same services also in slums. So we look at services in cities, but we also look at services in slums. And this is a major, I think probably the only database and monitoring that is available in this manner, and actually throws up very interesting results in terms of the gap between services at the city level as a whole versus what the people in slums are getting. A couple of things and then I'll pass on. One important aspect is also reliability of this data. Because we have an IT platform, we have a lot of validation checks, and this is something that has been built over time. I think by now we have almost 300 to 400 checks that are there that have been inbuilt into the system to avoid mistakes, avoid errors in the data entry and so on. So that's one aspect that is working very, very well. Second is we also do reliability assessment of indicators that are derived from this analysis. And there are some indicators, and it comes out very clearly, those cities that have better IT systems, better monitoring, then their indicators have far higher level of reliability. I won't say we are 100% successful here, but we still keep trying. One example of this is, for example, in terms of quantity of water and NRW, it's very important to have monitoring at both supply end as well as consumer end. And this doesn't exist in many, many places. Maharashtra, many cities have, and therefore their assessment is much better. Gujarat, no city has consumer level meters, and we've been advocating with Gujarat government, but so far not successfully in terms of, I think we now also are engaged at the national level. And I think this is something that needs further advocacy for sure. And lastly, I wanted to say that we also have introduced use of this system to assess SDGs. Again, Chetan referred to that. I think Jitesh also probably referred to that. We are able to assess SDG 6.2 sanitation very, very effectively. 6.1 to some extent, there are some aspects in that for water that are missing, but we are planning to add those items and it will become 6.3 is also to some extent possible, which means that, and we have done these assessments for both Gujarat and Maharashtra, so we can do the assessment at the city level as well as at the state level. So this is one major advantage, and we have been trying, but so far not successfully at the national level, to get Niti Aayog to use that. And we hope Hitesh, who probably has better links there, will help us to do that further, because I think this is very important. The recent 2020 or 2020, I think, index that came out from Niti Aayog actually doesn't have anything on urban SDG 6 at all, or SDG 11 also. So I think that is some, 11 there is something, but SDG 6 there isn't much. So this is something that is actually very much doable, and it would be good to try and see that we can do that. So let me stop here. Our next things that we plan to explore is the linking our platform to citizen level feedback system, something that again, but this is still work in design, not in progress here, but work in design, but that's something that we hope to do over the next 2 years. So let me stop here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Mehta, for raising very important issue of capacity building at the local level for gathering this information, which are detailed as well as reliable on all the urban basic services. And at the same time, you mentioned about the problematic aspects of this entire ranking system, because of it may be the case that the larger cities, because of their administrative superiority, they may have a higher values of all those indices, which will be impacting their ranking and all these things. So I'm sure that Professor Vaidya will reflect on all these issues. So before that, may I now request Dr. Pritika Hingarani, who is the Director and Research Fellow of IDFC Institute, Mumbai. If you please share your views on today's presentation. It's over to you, Dr. Pritika.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chattopadhyay. And Professor Vaidya, thank you for that presentation. I think, agree with absolutely everything that you said. So just to draw on a couple of things and also to go back to some of Hitesh's comments at the beginning. So the first, the point you made on economic indicators, I think that's a crucial one. And, there is actually a need for, economic indicator ranking, not so much just to rank cities, but actually to change the political economy around the conversation around cities, right? So until we know what it is that our cities produce, we will not invest in them. And this is a battle that, everyone on this panel has been fighting for years, actually, to put cities at the front of the development agenda. And I think in this case, measuring economic indicators has value, not even so much for a ranking and who comes first and who comes second, but just to put in the public domain and as part of the public conversation, what it is that cities contribute to our economy, and then to begin to see that trend over time and across geography and regions. So just to highlight the point you made on economic indicators. The second point is that, in all of the indicators that we have, they rely on a mix of different data. There's also room to start incorporating indicators that can be collected regularly and with little effort. Now, specifically, I think satellite data gives us that opportunity. This is an area where we did some work back in 2014, where we set up an urban expansion observatory with Pillai College in Bombay and NYU in the US. And we were able to look at instances of the quality of urban growth. So you can look at how well laid out are peri-urban areas. Is land formally divided or informally divided? You can look at average road width over time. You can look at distance from arterial roads. And these are things that are actually, in addition to a ranking, just of value to a policymaker. Of course, of the 17 cities we looked at, Ahmedabad came out on top, largely on account of the efforts that CEPT has made there over time. And so, I think adding in indicators that don't require a lot of effort to collect, but can be tracked over time are extremely valuable. So this brings me to my third point, which is what is the purpose of these rankings, right? So like you said, we've got all these rankings, we perhaps have too many rankings. And so we have to step back and ask ourselves the question of what purpose do these serve? So one, of course, is like Professor Vaidya said, is to spur competition between cities, or at least to start a conversation around, wanting to improve and being able to look at your neighbor and compare, and that it has done in some instances. But in the context of India's urbanization today, it has to serve other purposes as well. And so we need to think about these purposes as we design the indicators of the future. So the first is asking ourselves the honest question of, do citizens actually follow these rankings? What do these actually mean to citizens? So I think, we talked about the example where citizens were saying, if Bangalore is the best city we have, then, what does it say about the rest? But where we should aspire to be is that, there is value to these rankings and citizens actually act on these. So today, no business or no citizen actually, makes a choice about which city to live in based on these indicators. And that's really, the gold standard of where our indicators should be. In addition to that, very often it's a number, but there's actually raw data backing each of these indicators that has a lot of value. And so the focus should be equally on where do you stand and what is that raw data and what can we do with it, right? So how did you arrive at that ranking? The second thing is we need to start thinking about, can cities do much about the underlying factors of the indicators, right? So in some instances where it's construction permits, that a city can act on the underlying basis for the indicator and do something to move up the ranking. But if we were to, for instance, measure economic competitiveness, that's something that cities can't do that much about. And so we have to make sure that what we're measuring cities on is something that they can actually do about. But my third point, and this actually, is exactly what Professor Meera and Dinesh Mehta did in Ahmedabad. And the two things that stuck out to me is, A, these are questions of capacity building, and these are projects that take not 2, not 3, but 10 years, is that we need to build a data culture in our cities. So right now, and this is something that is being done both at the ministry and at NIUA, in terms of, through data smart cities and stuff, which is right now, when we want to measure things in cities, every index is going out and trying to collect the data that they need. That's addressing the problem from one side of it. The other side of the problem is, what data should our cities be collecting, right? And now that is, what is the set of indicators that cities care about and that policymakers can actually use? So whether there's ranking or there's no ranking, I need to collect this data because I need this data to make decisions. 2, you need standardized ways in which this data can be collected so that you can compare across cities and you can compare across time. 3, you need to make this data available to the citizens, and you need to do it in a way that they can understand it, and then this has to be data that they care about and they know how to process. Then rankings can draw on that data to highlight different aspects of a city's performance, and that's really where we should be in 10 years. Then you don't need to necessarily have a government agency go out and create the index. You could have a third party come in. So you could have an Oxford or The Economist or PwC or whoever it is, right? Come in, or an academic institution saying, all the cities in India collect this data. I will draw on different aspects of this data to create an index. Then you can get into questions of methodology, right? So I trust this ranking more than this ranking because this is the methodology, but the underlying data is the same. Right now, what you have is that even two rankings that cover, say, cleanliness, right? You have one URI on cleanliness, another URI on cleanliness. They may not actually lead to the same the same result, and that tells you something about the underlying data just being fundamentally different. And we should, in theory, we should be able to see some amount of correlation between, the same set of cities should be emerging at the top. Because urban management pervades all these aspects that indicators are collecting, but you don't see it, which tells you that there's some sort of disconnect. And so, I'll close with that. But my larger comment is, this is a long journey. There's no question about it. There's capacity that needs to be built. But as we think about the next 5 to 10 years of indicators, this is the way we should think about it, which is, what is the data culture? How do we build that data culture? How much buy-in is there from policymakers and citizens about the data that's being collected and how it's being collected? And then the indicators are a layer that sit on the top of it. So I'll close there. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Pritika. Yes, as you mentioned, instead of just infusing the competitiveness as far as these URIs are concerned, it's much more important for us to think whether these are really triggering the kind of urban informations that are beneficial for overall improvement of the cities or not. And for that, the two important aspects which you mentioned, the quality of the indicators and also some sort of standardization of some methodology that might be discussed and deliberated upon in order to get the maximum benefit of these URIs. So, well, thank you for your insightful comments. And let me now request Professor Dinesh Mehta, who is the Emeritus Professor and Executive Director of Center for Water Supply and Sanitation, CEFT University, Ahmedabad, to please share your views, sir. It's over to you, Professor Mehta.
Thank you, Soumyadeep, and thanks to IMPRI for bringing all these NIUA ex-directors and present directors, and also the FIRE. I think Meera, Chetan, Hitesh worked on the FIRE project of the USAID when I was in the NIUA. So I think it's all like a reunion. So thanks to IMPRI for bringing us back. And every time I listen to Chetan, I find a new word. Na? So I thought he was talking about some movie, Uri. So now it is URI. So it's a new phrase that he's in all these acronyms. There are enough acronyms. So Chetan is adding to the acronyms also. So that is a good thing. I want to pick up on what Pritika just said. And I think that's a very important point, that we have so many indices, and each time any agency that is creating this index goes out and collects the information. So there is no metadata at the city level, despite the fact that smart cities have a, what do they call that? Data command center. I don't know, Hitesh, you can correct me, but they also have a data manager appointed in
Integrated Control Command and Control Center.
Yeah, some military name. I forgot all that, command center. But so even there, the information about the city is not there, because when we were looking at water sanitation to put on the smart city information, we realized that this information has to be collected, because even these data centers do not have that. And that when Pritika was saying, I was reminded of my old friend who, when we started the PASS project, who was very senior officer, shall remain unnamed in this conversation. But he said, if you are collecting data, the first question that any city will ask is, paisa dete hai to hum log garib ban jayenge. But if you are giving award, we will become rich. So we will give you the kind of data that suits the purpose that you are collecting it for, which means that this kind of information base that we really need to develop in cities does not really exist. Hitesh started to talk about transformation of cities, and as Meera said, that from the days when we started to work on a fire project or in NIUA, the investment going into cities through the flagship program of the government is very high, almost 10 times, 50 times. But the information is just not there. This phrase that we use, I think from the 20 years of NIUA document, you will see cities are only 30% of population, but contribute what? 70% of the GDP, etc. This number, I remember, was discovered back in 1990 in some NSO, NSSO report. Uske baad, nobody has done any survey. And more recently, when I saw some report that Om Mathur churned out, it says that this number has gone down to 50% of GDP. So what Pritika is saying is really true, that what is the economic contributions of cities? None of these indices are actually informing us on this critical part of the whole contribution of the cities to the economy. And how do we generate that? We are, I think, ease of living, cleanliness, all of these other indices are important dimensions of service delivery. But there is also the productive element. If cities are the engines of growth, is this engine still functioning, or does it still need some more efforts to make it function? And I think that aspect of the economics or the productivity of city is missing in all of these dimensions. The second element that I want to just refer to here is that a lot of these indices that have been created, and I don't know, Pritika, if you alluded to this or not, but they are not in public domain. The basic information about a city, we have scanned large number of websites of cities. There are some very good cities websites in Gujarat, Maharashtra, more particularly where we work, where we can get some information. The budget information is always there, but on the other aspects, very little information exists about what the cities are doing. So these websites are all about getting birth certificate and death certificate. So our whole e-governance is only limited to that level of citizen interaction. It is not informing anything about, I mean, what you would see in outside of India. I'm not talking about just the North America or Europe, but even in Australia, even in many East Asian countries, there is a lot more information available to the residents of the city, about the city, than what we have in our thing. And that brings me to the final thing, is that this, we all ask that what is the purpose that all these ranking, what Chetan called URI, what is the purpose that it serves? I think it gets the headline. So when NIUA completed its 45th anniversary and submitted this climate report. So yes, local press was very, importantly, all these things were portrayed as a headline. Did it lead to any action? I think the next step is what we would recommend is that, and I think from the presentation that Hitesh's colleague made to our team last week, I think really informed us that there is the next step of how cities can go from 1 star to 2 star. What are the dimensions? What are the elements where they need to make effort? I mean, so I understand from that presentation that that is on the card, and that is the next step where this climate assessment framework is going. But I think that needs to become a part of all of our ranking. If at all we do ranking, I think it's fine. Ranking can happen because it gives what we are talking about, this competitive spirit among cities, but also to use this to push them that where do you, it's not an aggregate number, because each of these ranking is a aggregation of various sub-themes. So cities need to know these are the areas in which you can improve. These are the areas in which improvements are needed for you to come up to this level. And I think that's the step that we need to make. So whether we are able to demystify the URIs, I think some of them need demystification even for the professionals, because we don't know what went behind. But I think the citizens need even more demystification. And I think sometimes rather than this, huge, large number, I think one of those indicators that I saw had more than 100 indicators to come up with that index. Can we make it simpler so that it is understandable and palatable to the local residents? So then they don't question that when a city is said that this is the, the most livable city, then, as Chetan said, that people start arguing that if we are livable, what is the state of other cities? I think people will then really can relate that, okay, these are the aspects on which we were rated, on which we are really good, but these are the things that we need to improve. So I'll just leave there. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Professor Mehta, for raising three very critical points. The first one is that obviously none of the URIs are reflective of the actual productive contribution of the cities. And second serious point is the non-availability of the information about the cities on the basis of which these URIs are being constructed. So there is a serious gap between the rhetoric and the realities of all these URIs. And I'm sure that, there are lots of food for thoughts for today's discussion for Professor Hitesh Vaidya and also Professor Chetan Vaidya. Okay, so let me now request first Professor Chetan Vaidya to respond to all the points which have been raised by our panelists, and then we will be inviting our chair today to reflect further on these issues. So it's over to you, Professor Vaidya.
Right, and if Hitesh sir also want to add or ask anything, so you can also chip in now. Chetan sir can.
Sure.
No, I think a lot of questions have been already talked about. So, and I think let Professor Chetan Vaidya respond to that, and then we can come up with it.
Yeah. Great. Chetan sir, over to you.
All Meera, Dinesh, Kritika, all three of them, and also Hitesh, welcome remarks. All have brought in very important points. Meera really described how without doing actual ranking, how we could provide the systems for improving into inverted comma URIs. It is not as repeated with Pratika. It's not something which can be done overnight. Our IAS officers and mayors want everything overnight. आज है तो कल मुझे ribbon काटना है. So कल क्या करो? That kind of. That it is not like. It's a lot of effort, lot of dedication, and all those three things. What is the economic base of the cities? Extremely. How could we have a metadata system for a city, and how it could be put in public demand? And finally, how could we simplify these indicators where a citizen can understand how can he bring it as transparent system and he could relate with it. I mean, when I say that Baroda is a very good solid system, the wife says, "Hamara kachra to koi uthata nahi." System. So it's something which was citizens could relate with, something which needs to be done. It's not going to happen. It need a lot of efforts, and if this discussion was taken 5 years ago, I think even this kind of clarity was not. So we are progressing extremely slow. And there's somebody needs to look at this. Could be research work, NIUN and academic institute should take it together. How do we put all this thing together and simplify the data, make it available to the public?
I think some connection related issues, but Chetan sir is back. Sir, can you hear us?
Okay.
Chetan sir, can you hear us? Audio is not getting connected.
I think we have lost him somewhere.
I will do the coordination. Okay, nonetheless, let me take this opportunity and just ask few questions on the behalf to all the distinguished panelists also, so that whenever sir can join. I think sir has joined. Chetan sir, can you hear us? Please unmute yourself. Sir, you can keep your camera off so that voice can come at least. With video, due to bandwidth, some time. Yes, sir, kindly unmute. Okay.
No. I have finished, Arjun. You can ask the next speaker.
Okay, sir, but we lost. But sir, let me also ask a few questions to all the panelists. So many points really has been raised by Meera ma'am also, Pritika ma'am also, and all of this. With these indexes, what has been our reputation as a country? Because as ma'am has also highlighted, we are also giving these surveys to a third party. So many a times very big agencies are and through tender and all, this is going on, and big companies are actually looking into this survey. What has been your experiences having, now we have many such surveys, which directions are we going in, and how do we see the delays in carrying out such surveys? Because institutionally, the last ranking was also postponed by almost 1 or 2 years. In 2019, it was supposed to be. We also have smart cities have open data observatory and integrated command control center. Now we are also launched National Urban Digital Mission also, NUDM, which has come. So what can be done with it? With many things which Meera ma'am really highlighted about reliability and credibility of methodology also. We also have the program MIS data. Then how do we read that? and then we have census, NSS, NFHS. So how do we correspond? If we look into this ranking system, or what kind of periodicity do we see? Because then the PESA which is going, that is through the MIS data, physical and financial progress. So how do we integrate this? Because there are so many of nodes going in, and how can we take it very seriously? One point which sir really highlighted was on the ranking of neighborhoods, or I would say intra-city rankings. What has been the experiences of our panelists in Delhi or other parts where I live, or really see what the RWA or that decentralized approach really have some work if there is some political will, and what can be on the economic part, what can be the levers? Because most of the panelists highlighted that what are the economic dimensions we are missing out in such ranking, and what could that be? We really did a work from IMPRI, and that was estimating city level GDP, and that we did for Thane and thought to cover it also. PwC was also trying to do that through their smart cities mission, but the data part is really very tough, and there is so much of, we keep so many of things. So how to go forward? Lastly, I just also wanted to know that if we are having these rankings, then how will we have its connection with the policies? For example, we have PM Swanidhi looking into informality, or Swachh Bharat 2.0, many things coming, Amrut also. So how do we link these both of these things? Would any of the panelists like to go first? Mira ma'am, would you like to go first? I will check with Chetan sir. No? Ma'am, you are not audible.
Let Chetan start, or Chetan is not around.
Not around. I will just, ma'am, if you like to go ahead.
So let someone else start, I'll join.
Pritika ma'am, would you like to reflect upon? Yeah, please.
Sure, Arjun. So I don't know if I can answer the whole gamut of questions, but there were a couple of things that came to mind. So one, yes, I think this idea of measuring better at the neighborhood level is really important, because if you think about what people really care about, the immediate thing is the neighborhood. And there is potentially I think Bilbao does this, but at the neighborhood level, what do you care about? You care about things like crime, perhaps. You care about, there are statistics that you care about at the ward or neighborhood level that ward level officers could publish. And then it becomes, things like, what money has been spent on, what upgradations have been made. That starts more civic engagement even to begin with, right? I mean, sometimes it's too abstract to engage at the level of a city level index. What you really care about is your neighborhood. Secondly, your point on economic indicators. One of the things that I think we haven't explored, and it may be tricky to do, is now with GST invoices, we actually do, and they're also tagged to location to a large extent. We actually do have a rich reservoir of data that we haven't tapped into that we could. And so these are two things, I do think that both the ministry and NIUA are really focusing on the aspect of creating a better data culture. So building capacity of municipalities to collect data, helping them think through what indicators to collect. I think a lot of that work is happening. And I can't emphasize more what everyone on this call has actually done, which is walked that 10-year journey to do it. That can only really be judged at the end of that 10-year journey. So that's happening. But the two things that we could do are focus on what needs to be measured at the local level, and can we be more creative about economic indicators as well.
Great. Dinesh sir, would you like to?
Yeah,
please.
Sorry. No, I want to take on what Pritika was just saying. And, when I worked in the UN, I realized that, in UN has all these, and the cost of living adjustment. So, in different countries, there is New York is a standard base, and different countries. And then we used to ask that, how do you work out? And to our surprise, they use the economist intelligence units. They have these expats. So they do these analysis, and they use So this is available. They do their own research and survey, but that's available, and large number of multinational, international organizations use this kind of indices. Now that is the question I think that somebody asked in the chat also, that do people actually, when you say that the ease of living is better in Bangalore and Pune and Ahmedabad, do people actually decide to move there and say, oh, my life is going to be better? I am not sure if we have reached that stage yet. Partly because I think the issue that Meera raised in terms of the reliability of the information, the way in which this is collected. So I think, again, I'm repeating that there has to be greater transparency about what is the kind of information that is collected and make it understandable to the common citizen resident. And I think then these kind of indices will have a greater use. And the cities can also understand which are the areas in which they can improve themselves. So I'll just stop here. Meera, you want to add something?
Yeah, just two points. I think Ritika raised the issue of what I would call the big data. And I think there is so much out there that I don't think that we are actually tapping. I don't know efforts that have been made in the smart city exercises, but to what extent they have actually used this data smartly really to develop appropriate findings about cities. And there's so much that can happen. We've seen some students work on this, and just even mobile data. Ritika referred to the GST, but mobile data also actually can tell you so much about what's happening in the city. And I think smarter use of such data is something that we need to strive to do. So that's one. Second is almost exactly opposite. I think how do you involve citizens, and especially I think relatively vulnerable communities, the lower income groups, into these exercises more effectively. I think that is something that when we started, we had thought, well, we do have indicators on services in slums, but that is based on data at the city level. We don't have how the citizens themselves view, what are their perceptions. That is something that is the next exercise that we have been toying with. Our team is trying to look at opportunity or options of how this can be done. And then we want to find somebody who will actually fund that kind of activity, because that is extremely important. People sitting in Dharavi versus people sitting in some of the high rises, how do they view the city differently? What is their feedback to the cities, governments? These are things that are extremely important. And that kind of feedback from citizens is something that we need to work on as we move forward. And maybe it'll take the next 3 years at least to do that. But I think it'll be worthwhile if we manage to come up with some ideas and some results on the ground for this. So these are the ward level, we have tried. It's cities don't have that level of information always. So we've not been very successful, but I think things are improving in some of the larger cities. Such information is beginning to be available, and especially in water, the SCADA systems are being put in place. So there is better information, and maybe we need to go back and take a look at more ward level, zone level data also. So those are maybe, as we move forward, things that we would like to focus on. And hopefully that will be quite helpful in terms of improving. And Dinesh and I have been toying with this thing about the city economy. And that is something that I think we need to certainly go back and look. What is it? How do we measure? What is actually happening? And what are the ways to use some of these new data systems to do that? I think that would be really important to explore and try out for sure.
Wait for census 2021.
which will come in
May
20.
not still give you that, yeah.
Yeah, at least the employment and then
Maybe to some
estimation.
extent, yeah.
But economic census, annual survey of industry, they do have some data.
That's
Good
right.
data.
But disaggregate nahi milta hai.
Yes, that becomes very
district.
tough.
So Mumbai district you can do.
Some of the larger cities it becomes possible to do because you can use the district level data for that. That's what our students
Also the
exercises they do.
Tax data also have their commissionerate. तो पूरे महाराष्ट्र का मुंबई में ही दिखेगा फिर. That's the problem. Yes, ROC and others. So great. Chetan sir is having some difficulties, but Professor Hitesh, would you like to summarize or give your views?
I think great discussions and lot of thoughts. I don't need to repeat them, but I think two things which came up this whole journey of data culture, which is very, very recent, and you can't expect that results can start having this. Cities are preparing for that. So I think let's not be too harsh on ourselves. Also, we have achieved quite a bit. I'm just giving you one thing which has these rankings have started initiated. There is a definitely, whether it's a small or a big, some changes at the city level are happening, and you can't say that nothing is happening. I think a lot of even in the cities, and I come from a very, very small town in Himachal Pradesh called Dharamshala. When I go back to my hometown, which is one of the smart cities, I see people talking about it. My waste is not going right. Why we are being called smart? If this is so, there is a whole energy within the citizens also, that pride that I am called smart city, but nothing is happening. So that is also being pushing the cities to really do better. And I'll just say, as I said, that with 126 cities, and I'm saying that a lot of things are happening, and they are triggering a lot of discussion and also peer-to-peer learning. Also, cities are learning from each other how to move. This 126 cities are CSAF, and I'll just give you figures that out of 126 cities data, which we did it in 28 indicators across the country, was that 35 cities have initiated preparation of city disaster plans. So now question is, they have started initiated disaster plan. Whether it's good, bad, ugly, quality, yes, definitely has to do, can be improved. But there is at least a thought that there is a problem and I need to work on it. Second is 101 cities have started promoting green building plans. Green buildings, culture of green building. What is the green building really means? 67 cities have started water resource assessment, which was not there at all. And 45 cities have started looking at scientifically managing their landfill sites. 35 cities have started preparing a clean air action plans. And 88 cities have street lights and energy efficiency renewable energy systems. So there is, it may not be on scale, and the complexity of India is too large. So I think we need to be cognizant of the problem and the scale and complexity of India. But I think the cities that journey towards that evidence-based planning or pushing that agenda of urban has already began, it has started already in country. I definitely agree that a lot more has to be done to make it more integration. We have started this National Urban Digital Mission with Ministry has started, and NIO is anchoring this National Urban Digital Mission. And our idea even is only to do at least at this time we have said 2020-22, 2020-22 urban local bodies will be on a digital platform. Sounds like a very, very political statement, and I can admit that. But question is, when we are saying digital platform, we have started defining what does digital mean? How do I bring the innovators into it? How do I bring cities into it? How do I may not achieve everything into that, but I think that discourse that we need to be technologically, digitally looking at innovations, looking at startups, bringing the new partners in place to really achieve that agenda. I may be very pessimist that it might come only 30%, 40%, but I think that change will start working on it. We have also started a repository of knowledge, because one thing which I've seen, so much of good work is happening, which is also getting lost somewhere. So how do you come up? So, Ministry has started this National Urban Learning Platform. where we are trying to prepare the capacity building tools for each indicators, and linking an indicator with the capacity building tool and the training institute, all three together one-to-one. So that's another area where we're doing. So I definitely see there is a lot to do, and I think all this thing which Pritika, Dinesh sir, Meera sir, and Chetan sir highlighted definitely requires a lot of going back to the drawing board, re-looking at it, what we have achieved, how we move forward. But I still is very hopeful that we are in the right path, and we will definitely take this journey forward. And I think those missing gaps definitely need to be built up. And I think that's only a collaborative, or only NIU or ministry cannot take this on their own. It has to be a platform like this, where deliberations and discussions will take place and trigger this discourse towards this new way of doing things. So with that, I thank you everyone for joining us. And I think this is a great discourse thing that we are moving to this. Chetan said the Yuri, and my earlier boss in UN was Yuri. So whenever he was saying Yuri, I was remembering him. But I think we definitely need to move forward on that. Thank you very much, Chetan sir, for great presentation and all of things from behalf of NIU. I'm thinking, but I think IMPRI will do a vote of thanks. So I'll leave it to Arjun to do that. Thank you.
Right. So let us go also to Chetan sir. Sir, we had a bad. So sir is having rain at his place, so some issues. So sir, how do we move now way forward? Some questions we also took. Sir, in your view, that so that we go forward towards New India, Atmanirbhar Bharat, and Team India with all the cities and state governments. But how do we also feature in, for example, in a global livability index of what EIU brings? When will our cities will come there, in your view, for the discourses of today? Would you like to summarize?
Arjun, you have asked a very difficult question, but I will tell you, hello, I will tell you, when I used to be director SPA, President of India used to wanted us to be in the global university system, and we realized the way universities are ranked globally, a lot of importance is given to students from other countries. So if Belgium gets a person from Denmark, he gets a positive number. So I used to say, in my own little way, sitting in Rashtrapati Bhavan, I said once that a person, when he moves from Northeast, because we had some 10% seats reserved for Northeast, if he comes from Northeast to Delhi in SPA, that is more difficult than going from Denmark to Belgium and vice versa. So I think that one will have to look at very closely how the global index is being prepared. And that's a completely different exercise. I think we should first focus how we do it in India. And that would mean some of the points where Dinesh, Meera, Pratika, and Dinesh look at what kind of basic data we need to collect, which is already being collected. How could it be, what the word he used was metadata, available at the city level? How could it be made into public domain? And then we do not get this ranking business, give it so much importance to ranking, but basis for improvement and comparison, that should be the basis. And it of course needs, maybe Meera will support a PhD thesis at CEPT University on this subject, and Dinesh will may support another person on this thing, and we should find funding for this kind of work. But it requires, and it cannot be done in the ministry. But the points which Hitesh mentioned, that some things are happening. They may not be best. Things are happening. They are in a very ad hoc manner. They are not being documented properly. I think he at least mentioned numbers, those 5 or 6 things he recently mentioned. I came a little late. But things are, it's not that cities are not doing it, but they are not properly documented and they are not being replicated, recognized, and that is the issue. So we should see to it, and we should also not give too much importance to this award. I think that I was also involved with GNM Awards, unfortunately, which gave me a lot of importance personally to me and to NIU. So I think that should not be too much focus on awards, but on improving the system on a long-term basis. That should be our. I'm going to stop with that. Thank you so much, particularly IMPRI, for this opportunity and all the panelists here.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. So, Samyadeep sir, over to you.
Thank you, Professor Vaidya. And yes, today's discussion is really stimulating a discussion. And as we know that our cities will be the drivers of future growth, but only sound policy based on reliable data can gear them up for that, for their role as the engines of growth. And in spite of the several problems which have been discussed at length in today's discussion, the framework developed for comparing this holistic urban growth in India, let us hope that they can help urban planners and decision makers in making the urban policies and infrastructural development decisions truly effective. So with this, let me just formally propose this vote of thanks. We are really thankful to Professor Hitesh Vaidya, who is the director of the National Institute of Urban Affairs, for chairing today's session. And also we are thankful to Professor Meera Mehta, Professor Dinesh Mehta, and Dr. Pritika Hingarani for attending today's session. And also we are thankful to Professor Chetan Vaidya for giving such an excellent presentation and really demystifying the URIs. And also on behalf of Team IMPRI, we really are thankful to all of you, and also I'm thankful to all the participants who have put their questions on the chat box. And I think most of our panelists, all the panelists, they have addressed all the questions which are there in the chat box. So that's why we haven't separately raised those issues. So once again, and as we know that we have been conducting this city conversation series for the last couple of months. So we hope your presentation, your presence in the future events as well. So with this, let me once again thank you for attending today's city conversation series, and good night to all of you.
Thank you very much. Please take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.